Today's episode is brought to you by Drift Outfitters in downtown Toronto, Ontario. Drift Outfitters is your source for all things fly fishing. From waders and boots to thread and feathers, Drift has it all. They're now open for in-store shopping, but with a COVID times twist. Along with mandatory masks, a few other things have changed. So check in on their website to find their latest updates and policies. Safety first, fly fishing second. Curbside pickup for your online or phone orders is still a great way to get all the gear you need, and they're still shipping across Canada for free on orders over $100. Visit driftoutfitters.com to learn more. Hello and welcome to another episode of So Fly. It is July 7th, actually. We're recording this one. My name is Mitch. We've got Aldo.
Hello.
We've got Yilma.
Hello.
And we're very excited to have a special guest on the show today. Someone joining us all the way from Tennessee, I believe. We've got Susan Thrasher on the show. Susan, how's it going?
Doing great. Thank you. And you got it right. Just
Right on.
outside of Nashville.
Awesome. Wow. So super excited to have you on. We have Susan on today to talk about her new book, which is Thrasher's Fly Fishing Guide. It's a book that aims to illustrate the fact that anybody can fly fish, and it's not as necessarily as hard as it looks. But Susan, yeah, we're super excited to talk to you today, and thanks for joining us all the way from Tennessee. How's the weather?
Thanks for having me. It's hot and sticky. I'm sitting outside with the fan going on, but and it feels good under the fan, but it was a hot, sticky day today.
Oh yeah, right on. And how's the fly fishing down there been? Like, is there much fly fishing? I've never been to Tennessee, so I can't say.
You know, this part, Middle Tennessee, isn't necessarily a fly fishing destination. Now, if you go farther east, it is. But here in Nashville, it's not necessarily a destination. But we do have some great trout fishing just on some of our tailwaters. They aren't naturally reproducing; they're all stocked fish, but we do have quite a few holdovers, and so far the fishing has been good this year. So.
Wicked! That's awesome! Wow.
Nice. I mean, I've been in Nashville, but that was just mainly to eat barbecue. I never got to fish there, so but it's cool to know that there's some cold water fishing there as well. Do you guys get into warm water species as well? Fishing?
Oh yes, yeah. I've been out doing some smallmouth fishing,
Nice.
I guess just a couple of weeks ago, actually. So I go back and forth.
That's wicked. Okay, so maybe like for everybody listening at home, Susan, why don't you just kick it off with a little bit about you and what you do and a little bit behind Southern Brookies and your book.
Sure. A little over 20 years ago, I picked up a fly rod for the first time and absolutely fell in love with it. I think like a lot of people, you become addicted. If you really love it, you really love it and jump in, with both feet. And that's exactly what I did. And I just wanted to learn everything there was to learn about it. So I went through, I had some guides that I went out with. I went through a casting school. I went through a guide school. I got so hooked in it that I just wanted to start teaching it and guiding myself. But at the time, I had a full-time job as a civil engineer. And I didn't think I was at a position at that point where I could just drop everything in my career and just be a fly fishing guide. Although I know there's a lot of people listening that would like to do that.
Yeah.
And I decided, to put a little plan in place. So over the next, after I started really thinking about it for about 10 years, I just started, I purchased some property. I built a school. I just started, I bought a drift boat. I just started kind of accumulating all the gear and things that I would need to actually do it full time. And I just figured the time would be right and I would know it. And 5 years ago, almost to the day, 5 years ago, I just decided, okay, time's right. So I turned in my notice and left my career and I haven't looked back. So that's what I've been doing. I started the business while I was still working though, called Southern Brookies. And I would just meet people out on the river. I really enjoy casting. So I wanted to show people how to cast and offered some classes and some schools for beginners and also was guiding. So I did a lot of that part-time until I could, jump right in and do it full-time. And so, yeah, that's what I've been doing over the last 5 years. And it's been pretty amazing.
Oh, man.
I know a lot of people wish they could quit their day job and do, focus in on their passion. And I was just fortunate enough to be where I was in my career, that I could actually do that. So
That's wicked.
I highly
Super awesome.
recommend it.
Oh,
I've been thinking about that for the last 4 months now. I don't know when it's going to happen, but
how can we turn this fly fishing thing into a full-time gig? Exactly. Well, what's behind the name Southern Brookies? Why Southern Brookies?
Of all of the species, I love a brook trout. I mean, I just think they're absolutely beautiful, with the little white markings on their fins. They kind of look like French tip manicures, I think. Yeah. But I love the brook trout. And then, I'm really proud of my Southern heritage. I was born in Mobile, Alabama, and I've been in the South, for as long as I can remember. I moved out to the West Coast for a little while, but I am definitely Southern at heart. In fact, I spent a lot of time in New York, in Manhattan, where our engineering headquarters was located. And I spent so much time there. I would ask some of the New Yorkers, do you think I'm starting to pick up the accent a little bit? And they're like, no, it's not happening. But, anyway, so I figured, Southern girl, I'll just call it Southern Brookie.
That's cool.
That's how it happened.
Right on. I could dig that. So going way back to like when you got in 20 some years ago or 20 odd years ago, what was it that made you want to pick up a fly rod at all? Like why'd you decide to get into fly fishing?
Well, my dad's a retired pastor, and one of the fellows from the church, Robert Shiver, called my dad and said, hey, next time Susan's in town, if y'all want to try fly fishing, I'm located right out here on the South Holston River, and I'll give you guys a quick lesson, and we'll just go out and fish for the day. So that's what we did. We got up early. We were there at like 5 a.m. It was still dark. I had borrowed some waders from one of my coworkers, and he just showed us a real quick, lesson in the yard. And I know I looked terrible. In fact, my dad still brings that up about he kind of felt sorry for me because I was slapping the water. And he said, you were trying so hard. And of course, as everybody knows, if you try too hard in fly fishing, it never works, right? Your cast isn't going to get out there. But somehow later that day, I caught a fish. And I just remember the feeling, every little movement I could feel of the fish. And just, stripping in that line and seeing it on the end. I just got so excited. And there was something about the, something magical about it, with all the artificial, the flies that you use. There's no wormy, yucky mess.
Yeah.
I really like that part. But it just seemed there had to be a strategy, it seemed like involved with it. And it was just difficult. I loved the challenge of, wanting to try to learn about the casting, about the flies. And I just thought if I do take this on, it's going to be a lifelong kind of a quest, because you can never know it all. Some people think they might know it all.
Oh, yeah.
Every now and then I wonder, okay, I think I might be there. And then I pick up something else and I'm like, oh yeah, I know nothing about that. So then it puts you right in another area that you have to study up on.
Totally.
Yeah. Oh yeah, big time.
Yeah, Yilma's the newest one to the fly fishing world in this group, and I think he feels. I mean, we all feel that. Like I agreed 100%. There's always something out there that's like, oh, what's this now? We got Euro nymphing. Okay, that's the next thing I got to look into and figure out. Like, there's always something coming up that you got to teach yourself.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, right here on the Caney Fork River, that's where I'm located. It flows into the Cumberland River, and I think Aldo, I believe you were saying that you had been in Nashville, so probably saw the river that ran right through town. That's the Cumberland. Well, when the water warms up a little bit and they aren't generating quite as much, a lot of times we get these huge stripers. I mean, striper as long as my leg that will come up into the Caney Fork River, and it pretty much, ruins the population of trout that we have here.
Man, yeah.
I mean, they're huge, huge monsters. Wow. And so there's been times I've thought, maybe I should really learn a lot more about how to fish for stripers, because then if the trout are gone, at least I'll be able to get into the striper world.
Yeah,
but I haven't gotten into it just yet. I mean, because it's a whole nother realm of fishing, a whole nother set of flies, heavier equipment, and just the strategy of where to find them. So that's a whole nother thing that I'm going to have to get into and learn, which makes it even that much more interesting, right?
Yeah.
Because then you got all the extra striper gear that you got to buy. And I'm a gear nut. So, then you're justified in all the other shopping that you can do, right?
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
So where are the stripers coming
Yeah.
from?
Yeah, because you said they.
Just up from the Cumberland, and they actually stock some stripers around too. I
Okay.
don't know necessarily if they're stocking in the Caney Fork. I don't think so. I think they're coming up from the Cumberland River and just coming up. I mean, they find the food and they just keep on coming,
Yeah.
and it's just they're like a vacuum cleaner when
Yeah.
they come upstream. So.
Jeez.
Yeah, is it natural to the lake, to the river? Because you did mention that they're just gobbling up all the brookies.
No, those were stocked, and
Yeah.
our trout are stocked as well.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's crazy.
Cool.
My God, biggest like giant stripers in a river like that. Is it a big river or is it just kind of?
No, it's really not.
Wow.
You know, there maybe I don't know 100 feet or so across, maybe a little wider in some
Wow.
part, and really shallow water. I mean, like you can look down in water that's maybe up to your knees.
Yeah.
You know, maybe up to your hip, and look down and see these gigantic fish just swim. Yeah,
That's
it's
cool.
pretty amazing
That's
to see
awesome.
them.
Love it.
Yeah.
I caught my first 15-inch brook trout. Yes, 15. I think it was 15. I would love to say 20. Mitch caught a 20-inch
I did.
Yeah.
last week, and it was incredible. I've never seen
That's
that.
nice for a rookie.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very, very exciting.
We
Yeah.
were very north. Very
Yes.
north.
Where the
Yeah.
big brookies live. It was almost like fishing char or something, but exactly. I mean, right there, that's a whole lifetime of fishing right there. You could spend your whole life just fishing those brookies, like so, and never know everything about it. So it's very true. It's a very good point.
I think when we were catching those larger ones last 2 weeks ago, I think one of the first things Mitch commented on, which is same as you, were those opaque white fins. I mean, it's so unique.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unique thing to see on a fish. That's pretty cool.
So
That's pretty
cool. Yeah.
Okay,
I think you also can. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but see, we have rainbows, browns, and brook trout here in the river. And when I hook into a brookie, I don't know if it's maybe the different, more slender kind of torpedo shape of their body or what it is, or just instinctively the way they fight. But when I hook a brookie, I know as I'm playing it before I even see it that it's a brook trout that's on the line.
It's interesting. Eh?
And I don't know if you've
interesting.
noticed that with any of the ones that you've caught, but
Yeah.
I think that's kind of neat.
Well, these
Got it.
ones, the ones we were catching last week, were hitting like steelhead. It was very weird. They were,
Oh, wow.
They were just like hammering flies. It was a very interesting way to fish brook trout because, I mean, these were just very unique northern fish. But yeah, the brook trout down here, like where we fish in southern Ontario, are definitely smaller. And yeah, it's interesting. I mean, there is something unique about them. I mean, beyond just how they look, they are special fish.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think if I may, I mean, when we fish for the trico hatch in southern Ontario, which is a very small brook trout population, they hit quick. They're a quick fight, and they tend to thrash a little bit, and they get excited. And I felt that was the same when we were up north and catching those 15 inches, 16, 17 inches.
Yeah.
They're hitting the same way as if they were the young ones that we catch on.
Yes.
spunky.
Oh,
Yeah,
man.
very spunky. Yeah.
Yeah.
That trico hatch isn't far away, guys. I'm getting pretty excited about it. We're sidetracking here, but geez, now I'm thinking about
No,
tricos.
I love it. No, I want to go up there and visit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Come on
definitely,
out.
Yeah.
100%. Going way back to the first time you went out, or when you started fly fishing, do you remember what your first fish on the fly rod was? Did you mention that already? I know you talked about bass and trout, but
Yeah, it was just a little rainbow trout.
Okay.
If I recall, at very small, 8 or 9 inches, probably. It may have been 10.
Yeah.
I doubt it. I mean, that's the fish story. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's say it's 12, but it was small.
Nice. I could dig that. I mean, what was that moment like? Was it like, because you mentioned it was so much work to get it, like you were thrashing away on the water at first and then, struggling a little bit, but finally catching a trout. It must have been a pretty memorable
Well,
moment.
it's interesting. Even though that was a long time ago, I still remember casting right up next to a bridge pier and just letting the current kind of sweep it in. And I didn't know, but it was almost like I was swinging a wet fly. At the time I would have looked at you like you had 3 heads. Like, what does that mean? But that was kind of the drift that I had going. And it was like right at the very end of the drift that, when you swing wet flies, you feel that tug immediately at the end. And that's what happened. And I think that was the adrenaline rush, is that I felt the take. There was no doubt the fish was there. I was doing everything possible to try to strip the the fish in to get it to me, because
Mhm.
I was like, do I reel in? Do I strip in? You know,
Yeah.
he didn't tell us that part of it. And once I finally got it in and had it there and looked at it, I think that's the moment that I was like, oh wow, that was amazing. I want to keep doing this. So
Yeah. Yeah, getting in your hands, and that's great. I love that you can remember your first fish. I mean, it is a special moment, catching your first fish on a
Yeah.
fly rod. So, what made you get into teaching then? So, fast forwarding, why teaching? What was it about instructing that? Were you a teacher before that at all, or was it just kind of a?
nope. No, and I would have been surprised if you had ever told me that's what I was going to be doing with fly. I remember being out on the Caney, after I'd gone through, a few years, maybe 2 or 3 years of fishing, and I was out on my own fishing a few times, and a few weekends. You know how like all fly fishermen do. Hey, are you having any luck today? What are you using? Why are you using that type of a strike indicator? Or wow, how are you getting that cast and that kind of drift? And it was really fun. I just found stopping and talking to all the different people that would ask me questions. And I got to where I was enjoying that, meeting up with people on the river as much as I was even fishing myself. And it occurred to me, maybe that's a little unusual that, if you love actually showing and talking to people about it as much as you enjoy it yourself, maybe, there's something there. And so I just got to thinking, I could spend a whole day fishing virtually through someone else. And that's basically what guiding is for me. I just got off of a guide trip today, and I feel like I've been fishing all day long. Every time the kid, would set the hook, because I was watching that indicator so closely and the dry fly so closely, and I could just anticipate when that fish was going to take either the nymph or the dry fly. Yeah. And when you're watching it that closely, you really are fishing yourself.
It's true.
So that's what it's like. It's a day of fishing
point.
without actually touching the rod.
Yeah, it's a great point. 100%. I mean, I can imagine some of the guides that we've fished with, they get pretty stoked when you get a fish, right?
Oh,
yeah. Pretty happy, right?
They live for that.
Yes.
That's why they guide. Yeah.
Absolutely. Whereabouts were you guiding today? Were you down on the local river there? Or?
I did not go on the Caney Fork today. I actually drove over real close to the little town of Lynchburg, Tennessee, where they make the beverage.
Jack Daniels. Yeah, we know that.
So there's a tailwater there called the Elk River, just down below Tim's Ford Lake. And right now the water's gotten a little bit warm on the Caney Fork. Unfortunately, with all of the rain that we had here in Nashville, they released so much of the cold water that we stored up in the wintertime that it's not quite as cold, and the fish are just a little lethargic on the Caney. Mm-hmm. And this was a grandfather that was bringing his 13-year-old grandson. And he said, I really just want him to have a good day of fishing. And I said, well, do you mind the 2-hour drive? Nope, we don't mind that at all. So for me, it was about 2 hours and 30 minutes. Yeah. But I got there. They were there 30 minutes early. They were so excited. No pressure, right?
Yeah.
They just want to catch fish.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I had gone the day before and kind of dialed in what was happening. And he did a really good job today. He caught fish all through the day. He probably had at least 20 in the boat and missed about that many. So there was a lot of action throughout the day. And honestly, when I left, I was as excited leaving as he was, because I wasn't sure how the day was going to go. And it turned out the fish cooperated, which is always nice.
Oh, that is absolutely, a little bit of a relief, I guess, eh?
Yeah.
Yes.
You never know. You never know how it's going to go. So you also worked for a little while up at Joan Wolf's school, right?
Mm.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's pretty awesome.
I went there for a casting class. In fact, one of the first mentors I ever had that I met out on the Middle Provo River in Utah suggested that I should look up Lori Ann Murphy and I should look up Joan Wolf. And I had no clue about either one of them because, I just started fly fishing. And so even though they were well-known names, in the industry, I just wasn't aware of them. But then when I looked them up, I realized what a significant, what significance they had in the industry. But I signed up for one of the Wolf's classes and went through that. And then immediately after that, signed up and decided to go through the instructor school, and which I really, really enjoyed. And I can tell you, for me, there was nothing more nerve-wracking than have to teach the roll cast in front of Joan Wolfe and Floyd Frankie, critiquing every step of the way what you're doing, whether you're doing it right or doing it wrong.
God, I can imagine.
But after that, as good fortune was have it, they invited me to come back and be an intern the next year.
Yeah.
And
Nice.
so I did that. And we had to cancel all the classes this year, but this would have been my 15th year actually teaching
Awesome.
there. So I stayed on staff, and we're now like just a real tight knit little family, all of
Nice.
the instructors. Because we've taught together so long. And when we come together in the spring, it's really kind of nice to see each other, because we really only see each other during that period of time while we're teaching.
Oh, that's
So,
cool. That's a cool
been
community.
Yeah, that's cool.
So how long are you teaching there then, if you were to normally teach? Like, what is your teaching season versus going back to Nashville?
I go there 2, maybe 3 weekends. We start. We'll have classes in May and April, throughout the month of May and April, and I'll just say, I can do it, these 2 weekends or these 3 weekends, and then I'll go and I'll teach. Some of the others that live a little bit closer, I'm probably the farthest away, and so I can't go for the entire time, but just a few weekends. But the way the classes are scheduled, we have our first session on Friday evening, and it runs for about 3 hours on Friday evening. Then it's a full day on Saturday, and until 5 o'clock on Sunday for the trout school. And casting school is similar, but we really put folks through the ringer. But they leave with a lot of great information under their belt. And Joan, if she's in town, she always comes down to the school and sees everybody, signs their books,
cool.
helps around the pond. Everyone gets a little bit of time with Joan, helping with the casting. She goes to each one of the ponds and gives a little bit of a talk, during the time, joins everybody for lunch and a cocktail, on Saturday night, which is really fun.
That's awesome.
And so that's really, really neat, and very special, I know, for a lot of people. Most times that's one of the highlights, because she is such a force in the industry, and such a legend, as well.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Absolutely, yeah, 100%. What are some of the types of people that you get coming to those classes and coming to the school?
Oh, from all over. I remember a guy coming in from Quebec that actually was part of the Cirque du Soleil.
Oh, wow.
He was, and then we had people from California, really all over the country.
Yeah.
A lot of people come in from New York City, just because Manhattan's only 2.5, maybe 3 hours, I think, away. Not very far. A lot of folks have second homes around in that area. So a lot of people come in from the city, a lot from the Boston area, but there's quite a few that come from the West Coast. It's not unusual to see Californians out there as well.
Yeah. That's interesting. Yeah.
That's great.
I mean, it's the Catskill region, right? The Catskills is where it's located.
That's right. Yeah.
Such a beautiful area that is, eh?
Yes. Oh, it's gorgeous. And most folks, when they come, there's the Beaverkill Valley Inn is just across the street from where the school is.
Okay.
And it's on the Beaverkill River right there. And then there's quite a bit of other water around, but the Beaverkill up in that section is private. And so unless you're staying at the inn or you have written a pass, where you can actually get on the water, you can't fish it.
Oh.
So most folks will stay at the inn, and because they can just walk across the street and be there at the school, and the food is delicious, and it's just very, very quaint there anyway. And then and they'll stay an extra day and be able to fish, on the waterway there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Very, very nice.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite piece of water up there that you like to fish in the Catskills?
Oh, let's see. I really enjoyed fishing on the Delaware, and all around, right there, the Willow-Weemac is not too far down from where the Beaverkill is. That's over near the Catskill Museum, the Fly Fishing Museum.
Yeah, oh, that's cool.
But typically, we're as guides or as instructors, we are so tied up through the whole class. There's only one evening, that's a Saturday evening, where we get a couple of passes, and instructors typically, are hoping that they're the ones selected to get the pass for the evening, because it's only 2 or 3 people that can go.
Right.
And but we get to fish that private water right there.
That's awesome.
On the Beaver Hill. So
Oh
yeah,
man, that's nice.
that's probably one of the favorites, just because it's private and you can hardly get onto it.
Yeah. Jeez.
Yeah, that's pretty special.
That's one area that I'd love to see more of is the Catskills, because like Aldo and I, we're from Ottawa, which is not far from, well, now we live in Toronto, which is 4 hours from Ottawa. But when we were growing up, we used to fish upstate because it's not far from upstate New York. So,
Yeah, right.
Wilmington and like Salmon River up in, Malone, and great water. Like upstate New York is just such awesome fishing. I've always said I got to get to the Catskills.
Yeah. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, just Lake Placid area. What was that like? What's it like being around Joan? Like that piece of fly fishing history? Or do you get much contact with her? Or?
Oh yes, because as when we're there, she is so generous to put us up. So the director there now is Sheila Hassan, and so we're the 2 women in the group now. We've had other women in the group before Dawn was there. But anyway, we'll stay there at Jones. And I was the farthest having to fly in. So I couldn't usually leave on Sunday nights. I always had to leave on Mondays. So I got to stay an extra night typically with Joan on Sundays. And her husband, Ted, and some of her other family, her son, Doug, and his wife, Vicki. It was just nice to be able to go out to dinner and just hang out. I mean, when I say it's like a family, I mean, that's really what they're like. So, when I first was there, it was interesting kind of walking around the house and just seeing these amazing books, that, belong to Lee Wolf and, that were inscribed, to Lee, and, to see, just some of his, he was a hunter. So he has some things up on the wall, that he shot, and, a lot of his flies and a lot of the things that she was actually giving to the Catskill Museum, and then also to Yale. She had contributed a lot of his writings and films and works there. So a lot of that stuff was out at the house that she was labeling and trying to get boxed up to ship off. So it was very interesting to be able to look around and see some of those things.
Yeah, I bet.
But then, now it's more like, I mean, they're just family. So.
Right on. That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's super cool. Well, it looks like a great school to check out. How did you get then into the book? So the book, how does that come in? What was the decision to write a book?
Well, I had never really had that in my mind that I was going to write a book ever. In fact, I never have enjoyed writing. But I mean, seriously. So I was giving a talk at a Northern Kentucky fly fishing group. Yeah. And after the presentation, this fellow walked up to me, Ron Ellis, and he said, have you ever thought about writing a book? And I said, nope, never. And he said, well, I really think you should. You have such a passion, for it. And I can tell with some of your storytelling. He said, I really think you've got some good things that you could share. And I'm like, yeah, no, it'd take a lot of time, and I don't really like to write. And he said, well, I have a good friend that's a publisher that I'd like to introduce you to. He's set up at Roebling Bookstore is the name. And he said, they're in Cincinnati. And he said he's got a quaint little bookstore and coffee shop, and they sell the best amazing maple donuts. And I said, okay, I could stay for the coffee and the donuts. And honestly, that was like the main reason I went. I like quaint bookstores. I love coffee and donuts. And that was the reason. And anyway, we got there and he was like, the publisher was like, Ron says he thinks you could write a book. You've got one in you. And I really didn't know how odd this was until later. I mean, people go looking for publishers, not the other way around. Yeah. And so he's talking to Richard. He's just so nice. And he was like, yeah, Ron says you got a book in you. I think, yeah, why don't you think about it? I'm like, there are so many books on fly fishing. I don't even know what would I write about that would even be different, that other people haven't already done. And he said, well, why don't you think about it? And then if you do think you've got something, that's special, let us know. We'd really love to work with you. Mm-hmm. So I'm driving back to Nashville from Cincinnati, and I was thinking, what if there was anything in my life that was unique at all. And what came to me was with a friend of mine, we had started the Music City Fly Girls, which is a women's fly fishing group here in Nashville. And it was really going strong. We started with 15 members. At the time, we were up to like 50 or 60 members, active, people that would come out, and we could go on trips together.
That's awesome.
And
that's cool.
over the years, we had gone on so many different trips, to either fish the Middle Provo or up into the High Sierras, or we fished the Bow River in Canada,
Nice.
last year, and the Old Man. I loved, fishing that.
Oh, the Old Man. Nice.
Isn't that great? So
Yeah.
I got to thinking, well, maybe I could do an instructional book that actually was tied into a lot of the stories and things, of me getting started, and the things that I found kind of complicated, or, just some funny stories about things that I did getting started. And then how I went to the Wolf School, and just kind of my natural progression, and then starting the Fly Girls, and then going through and talking about all our various trips, and some of the things that we found challenging, things we did wrong on trips, things we did right.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of incorporated each one of the how-to chapters with a story of some sort, because I feel like if you try to learn something by listening to a story or having some kind of a memory aid, it tends to stick with you a little bit better. So that was the approach that I took. And I really didn't want it to just be for women. I wanted it to be for men and women, because the majority of people I teach, are fellas. And so I didn't want it just to be focused on women. And I also want it to be a book that even if you weren't a fly fisher, that you could pick up and at least enjoy the stories, even if you could care less about what tippet or a sinking line was. You could at least enjoy the trip to Miami to fish for peacock bass.
Yeah, that's cool. That's a good way at it.
Yeah, so that was it.
Man, it sounds like you got there's so many cool stories you have fishing. You fished in so many interesting places.
Yeah, and just the way you're telling us about this stuff makes me want to dive into your more stories, because you're a very good storyteller.
It's a great approach to like pair an interesting story to a technique, or like teach people by applying like a memory or a thought to an entertaining thought to it.
Yeah,
awesome.
right. Well, that was the idea, and my dad called me the other night and he said, I just finished the book. He read it cover to cover, and he said, I really liked it. And he's tried fly fishing a few times, but he loves fishing, but he's not a convert like me. But he said he really liked the book. He liked the stories. And of course, I have several things in there about him. So I think that was one of the reasons he liked it.
That's awesome. I love that. Is he going to get into fly fishing now, you think? Is he going to make the transition after the read?
When he is here visiting me out here at the river, my parents come out quite a bit. They're only 4 hours away. So when they come to visit, I get them in the drift boat. They really enjoy it. My mom just enjoys the float. But my dad, he'll typically will pick up a fly rod and fish with me. And he's actually good. I think it's just, I don't know. He doesn't get out enough to probably really, dive really deep into it. So he just lets me help him out. So.
That's awesome. I love that.
Right.
Now, this is just a book writing question, but did you find the process of writing the book difficult, or did it just kind of flow out, like the stories and things come to you, or was it like...
these are such great questions. I thought that it was going to be, because, I've seen movies where people sit at their typewriter with like a blank page, like, oh my gosh, what am I going to write about? And, the way that I did it, I teach a lot of beginning classes. And so I just started, okay, if I'm a beginner fly fisher, what do I need to know at the beginning? And so I made an outline of, okay, well, you need gear. You need to initially know how fly fishing is different from what I call worm dunking fishing. So you got to know what the differences are. Then you have to know, like, people ask me questions, what are the must-have pieces of gear? I don't want to just dive in and spend tons of money, but what do I absolutely have to have? Yeah. So I have a chapter, on that. But I went through and did an outline of, okay, I need, something on the gear. I need something on waders. I need something on, the different techniques, and, just detailing out, the different sizes of tippet, and what's a 3X versus a 5X, and how do you know what size to use with what kind of flies.
Yeah.
And so then it just kind of progressively, started to build and build and build until we got to, different locations and how to read the water. And so then I just tried to fit the stories that popped into my mind, like with the weights of lines. When we went to Miami, we're all used to fishing for trout. And so I told everybody, just bring your 5 and 6 weights. Well, when you're casting big clousers, you're ducking every time you cast because it's going to hit you in the head. And I thought, well, that's perfect. I'll say, here's, we should have had, heavier weight lines, 7 and 8s, and we were using 5 and 6s. And here's the reason why. So when I went that approach and just started thinking about the various stories, once I had the outline, then it's kind of like you said, it just flew right out.
Yeah.
And I didn't have any problems. And I honestly was very, very surprised. I never had any idea that it was going to happen that way. I thought, I'm going to get halfway through. And then I'm going to get really freaked and stressed out because the publisher's going to be like, it's due. Where is it? And I only have 12 chapters and I'm supposed to have a lot more. But it wasn't like that at all.
Wow.
It really wasn't.
That's awesome.
I was very fortunate.
Well, Mitch is a writer too, so you're just giving him notes. He's collecting all.
But I'm a copywriter. I write like 4 words and I'm like exhausted. So I'm like, that's cool.
So how can people get the book? Where is it? How is it being?
You can. Well, the easiest way is just to go on Amazon and just order it that way. But I know that the publisher has gotten it out to Walmart and Target, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, and then all the different fly shops we have several fly shops here in town. There's Cumberland Transit. We have an Orvis in Nashville. Fly South is in Nashville. So we have some really nice fly shops around where you can get it if you're local. But I know you're in Canada, so you can't do that. A lot of different places. Just the big box kind of places, but mainly, ordering online. And I've tried to pick up any cards from different fly shops. I've picked up and, give those to the publisher and they've contacted them. Most folks have bought them for the shops. It's just, trying to reach out to all the different shops.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them out there.
There's a lot out there.
Is there a good, you just mentioned a couple fly shops in Nashville. Is there a healthy community, fly fishing community down in Nashville?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. It sounds like there is. With the groups you've started and whatnot, but yeah.
Oh, yeah. There's a Middle Tennessee Fly Fishers is a really great club. There have been a couple of chapters of Trout Unlimited, and then and then once you go closer to East Tennessee as well, there's quite a few fly fishing chapters and a lot of fly fishers. There's even though there's not a lot of cold water fishing around the Memphis area, which is more West Tennessee, there's a very active fly fishing club there, the Mid-South Outfitters or fly fishers, and they have quite a large membership. And a lot of the fly fishers, even though we have some winter stocking programs here, so you can definitely get out, but there's a lot that travel and go to destination places. And, some of the, Fly South caters to folks that travel and do a lot of saltwater type fishing. And then, of course, we have our Orvis shop that's in Green Hills, and Cumberland Transit, which is a really great outfitter that has camping and hiking and biking, type stuff as well. But they do have a small fly shop. So they all stay pretty busy with selling their fly fishing merchandise. So I would say it's very active. Yes.
That's cool. I just got to say Music City Fly Girls is such a cool name for a club.
You like that one?
I love that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
great.
Super cool. How was the reception with that club? How did that whole thing start up?
I had gone on a guided trip with a friend, Nikki Mitchell, who has passed away, sadly, and she would absolutely love the fact that it's just off the charts, been so successful. We started the club in 2007, and we were on a guided trip, and both of us were saying, we enjoy the co-ed clubs, but wouldn't it be fun to have a women's club, because we could travel and, you could have 4 to a room because, the women wouldn't mind, bunking up together. And so that's kind of how it started. and we just wanted to be able to go on trips together and have some inexpensive experiences. And we try to go on at least one big trip every year. This year, like I said, we've already been to Kentucky and fished down below Wolf Creek Dam. So we've already been there this year. And then we're going to Wyoming for a week in August to fish the Shoshone and fish in Yellowstone. So that's a week-long trip that's planned in August. And then we are fishing in East Tennessee on the South Holston. We have a long weekend plan there. And then on the White River in Arkansas. And so we try to get together, and we've got 36 that are going when we go out to Wyoming. And, the river's right there. Then people can go into Yellowstone if they want. So it's a big family. We all love being together and traveling together. We had 21 that went on the Bow River. It was interesting to see at our hotel to see 7, 8 drift boats come up and, around the corner there at the hotel, all lined up waiting to pick us up.
Oh,
that's a good scene. I like that.
It was pretty fun. Yeah, we really had a good time.
Well, that's a lot of traveling. That's great. And a lot of people doing it. That's pretty awesome.
Oh, it's wicked. Yeah. Wow. We were supposed to be down in Montana in August. We could have met up maybe driven a little bit and met up for a coffee and a donut, but we can't get through the border, so we're fishing stuck in Ontario. But that's
another year.
Another year.
I definitely like to come back. I would go back and fish the Old Man because I love Euro nymphing. I mean, that's one of those things I really, really have gotten into. And as I really thought the Bow River was absolutely beautiful, but if I could go back anywhere, it would be. I fished on the Livingstone, actually, the tributary to the Old Man, and I loved it. And I would go back there in a heartbeat for those cutties and using I fished it using my Euro rod and loved it every second of it. So.
The crow's nest too is if you get to do the crow's
is that
nest. Right? Both the Old Man and the crow's nest are close to each other. And then if you get high enough, the bow gets smaller, and you might like it more. The bow's huge.
Yeah.
It was huge. It's hard to.
It is.
Yeah, I remember when I got there for the first time, I was like, "Oh, I don't know if I can DIY this as much as I thought I could."
Yeah, right.
As much as I thought I could.
Yes.
Yeah.
We didn't talk about whether the Music City Fly Girls, which I also love the name, but I love it for different reasons. Because quickly, I used to watch this show called In Living Color, and that was a very popular show in the States, and we loved it. And they had every segment they would have the Fly Girls come out, but that's why I love the name. Anyway, I digress. But did that lead to casting? We work with Casting for Recovery.
Oh, Casting for Recovery, yeah.
Oh yes, absolutely, it did. So at our very first meeting, we decided we would set okay, what are the goals for this club? And number one, we wanted a community that if somebody wanted to go fishing and they didn't feel fishing on their own comfortable, that they had somebody that could pick up the phone and call. So we wanted ready-made fishing partners, but we also said we'd like to do something to give back to the community in some way. And at the time, we didn't know this, but that following year, Trout Unlimited decided they would like to get involved with Casting for Recovery. But it was mostly men in Trout Unlimited, and so they asked us if we would be interested in, taking a look at what they were doing and maybe helping out. And we were like, this is ready-made for us. And so we jumped right in, and we at first we helped with Trout Unlimited or some of the guys from there. And then, because the retreats, except for the Sunday where, guys come in, as guides, it's all women, for the Friday and the Saturday. And then Sunday is kind of like the grand finale when you go out on the river with your own guide. And that's when the guys come out. But anyway, we just basically, at their request, we just took over the whole thing. And so this would have been our 12th year, our 12th retreat, actually. And but it was this year, all the Casting for Recovery retreats had to be canceled. But the women that were selected for our retreat this year are immediately, they're just going to roll over and they'll be selected for next year. But that was a great question. Yes, that's been one of the things probably in my entire fly fishing career that I'm most proud of is the work with Casting for Recovery. It's been amazing. And any fly girl will tell you that that is, we probably get as much, if not more, out of it than the participants themselves. And quite a few of the participants are from the Middle Tennessee area, immediate Middle Tennessee area, and have joined the Fly Girls. I mean, some of our most faithful members came from Casting for Recovery and now are Fly Girls and go on the trips. And we probably have, I think, 4 participants that are going to Wyoming, maybe 5, actually, that are going to Wyoming with us. So very active. They've loved it.
Right.
That's great.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a cool thing to take on yourself. It seems like a huge kind of endeavor too, because like you're saying, it's pretty popular, eh? Like, I mean, fly fishing is obviously huge down there, but just to have that kind of response, even with something like it's amazing.
Yes. Yep. Yeah, that's it really awesome. Is.
Yeah. Okay. So every show we do this segment called Mitchie's Fishies 5. I know it's a stupid name, but we came up with it like a long time ago, and it's stuck. So basically,
came up with it in my living room.
Yeah, we did. That's right. What it is it's the same 5 questions we ask every single guest. They're kind of just more broad questions about fly fishing and your fly fishing life. But yeah, take your time to answer them. There's no rush. Okay. So we'll get right into it. The first one is, what is your favorite fish and why?
Well, my favorite fish is the brook trout. Mainly it's just how beautiful they are and how colored up. I love them too in the fall when they just get extra bright red and orange and just the spots on them. I mean, they truly just look like little gems that are hand painted. It doesn't matter how small they are.
Yeah.
Now, I would like to go to Labrador and catch some really big ones. That's kind of a dream trip for me.
Totally.
But and that might be one of your questions, so I won't keep going on that.
It actually is. It's the next question. I mean, yeah, Labrador is just... So the next question is, if you could fish anywhere in the world right now, assuming it's like the best time of year to go there, where would you go and why would you go there?
It would be Labrador.
Nice.
One of the Wolf School instructors, sadly, he passed away this year, Dave Brandt. He loved Labrador, and he went a number of times and showed me some pictures, and just couldn't get enough of going there. And that was a big area for Lee Wolf as well. And I've heard wonderful stories just about the area and the brook trout. And so, hands down, it would be Labrador. Yes.
And I think, was it Lee Wolf that there was maybe one of the first fly fishing films ever made where he went to Labrador on like a full plane. It was just like him and a videographer, and they shot it all on like, it looked like, I don't know, 35 or 8mm or whatever. And
that's cool.
Yeah.
And and they were just catching the craziest brook trout.
Oh yeah. Yes, absolutely. You can still get the DVD of some of that footage as well. It's out there.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I haven't seen that. I need to check that out.
Yeah.
It's a serious throwback.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool that it was. I think I don't know when he would have done that trip. The 70s, the 80s, or something.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Probably late 60s maybe, because he actually had a float plane. He was a pilot, and flew in. So yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty cool footage. Pretty cool footage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one heck of a trip. 100% with you on that one. That is definitely something that's got to happen. So number 3, and this one is a little even more broad, but it's, what is your best or favorite fishing memory from over the years? And it sounds like you've got quite a few, so no rush. Take your time.
Okay, I'll tell you one that this one doesn't have a whole lot to do with me, but maybe a little bit. I was actually fishing. I was telling this story to somebody the other night, and I said, this I think is probably one of my favorite memories of all time.
Oh, no way.
So I was stayed over for the weekend, or I was there at the Wolf School, and before I left that particular night, I had to be at work at the airport very early in the morning. So I was just going to go ahead and drive and to Binghamton, New York, and stay in a hotel. Yeah. And so before I left the school, Joan said, Ted and I are thinking about maybe driving to the Delaware and fishing for a little while tonight. Would you like to go? And I'm like, yeah, that sounds great. I said, I don't have any equipment and I don't have any waders or anything. And she goes, I'll let you borrow one of my favorite rods. And so I'm like, okay, this is pretty nice. I get to use one of Joan's favorite rods. How neat is that? And so I had the waders. So anyway, we got into the water, and Joan and Ted stayed down closer to where we put in, and I marched on upstream. And I passed this fellow. I said hello to him. We chatted for just a minute. And he said, he told me he was from New Jersey. And he said, you don't sound like you're from around here. And I was wondering, well, I wonder what gave that away. And I said, yeah, I'm from Nashville. He goes, what in the world are you doing on the Delaware? And I said, well, I was teaching this past weekend. He goes, well, what were you teaching?
Yeah.
Fly fishing. Where? And I said, oh, in the Catskills. And he goes, not the Wolf School. And I said, yep, at the Wolf School. And he goes, who are you fishing with tonight? And I said, oh, I'm fishing with Joan and her husband. And he goes, oh, not Joan Wolf. And I said, yes, Joan's down there. And he goes, oh, I've always wanted to meet Joan Wolf. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to fish up here for a minute. And on the way back, I'll grab you and I'll take you down and introduce you. Oh, wow. So I went upstream, didn't have any luck. He wasn't having any luck. We got back down to where Joan was. And I said, Joan, let me introduce you to my new friend from New Jersey. And so they, had some pleasantries, talking a little bit.
Yeah.
And then we were getting ready to leave. And we all said, well, it was a bummer of a night. We didn't catch anything. But as we walked away, the fella yelled at me, goes, Susan, look. And his rod was just bent double. And he had this huge brown trout on the line. So we watched him, we let it run. He played it in, he let it run, and he pulled it in. And then finally he landed it. And we all three, Joan was like, bravo.
Oh,
so it was wonderful.
Oh, man.
So anyway, it was so exciting for him. Yeah. But I got back to Nashville the next morning, opened up my computer, and somehow I didn't even tell him my last name. Mm-hmm. But he found me on the internet, and he emailed me and just said he wanted to thank me. He said that was one of the best nights of his life, that he got to meet Joan Wolf, and he got to catch a trout in front of her, and that she said bravo. So I told Joan, I said, you just never know the impact that you're going to have on people just by stopping and chatting and being friendly. And we need more of that right now, right?
Totally, yeah.
More now than ever.
Friendliness in the world.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a good feel-good story, I guess. So one of my favorites.
That's a crazy story. That's an
Yeah.
awesome story. Yeah, man, that guy must have been so excited. Oh my God.
Imagine.
And it gets better. Let me tell you this one last piece of that.
And then we won the lottery.
That about 2 weeks ago. So I bet you this was 10 years ago that happened. And I opened up my email not too long ago, and I had an email from, or a Facebook message. And this guy said, I don't know if you remember me, but I met you on the Delaware, and I just saw that you have a book out. And I said, remember you? You're one of my favorite all-time stories.
That's
so
awesome.
Anyway, he found me out of the blue after all this time.
Oh, that's amazing.
Anyway, I just thought that was very neat.
Yeah, that's
a
super
great
neat.
story.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh.
Yeah.
Awesome story. Yeah, that's the best fishing memory for sure. Okay, so number 4 is, why do you fly fish? What do you get out of fly fishing? Why do you like fly fishing?
I think it's the challenge of it. It really isn't easy. You can go out and sometimes you can get skunked. It doesn't matter how good you are, you can get skunked, which makes you want to go back and just figure it out. Mm-hmm. And I think it's the challenge of it. It's also requires some intense focus. If you really are into it, you're so completely focused that any other worry or care or stress or whatever that you have, it just kind of vanishes.
Yeah.
I think that's part of it too. And like we talked about before, the lifelong learning aspect, you're just continually growing, in what your knowledge, and it's like, it's endless, like I was saying, I don't know much about stripers, and, there's just so many things that I would still like to learn about it. And honestly, I don't think I'll ever get to the point where I feel like I'm a master, or where I can know a little bit about everything, but I would like to get there. So those are the reasons.
I love it. Yeah, it's a great point.
Great.
I love the endless learning is such a good way of looking at it for sure. Number 5, and the last of Mitchie's Fishies 5, is, what fly pattern best represents you and why? So if you were a fly, what would you be?
Well, let's see. A squirmy worm would probably be a cute answer, but that's not yet.
That's awesome. Squirmy.
Yes.
Oh,
You made Aldo very happy.
Yeah, I'm like,
Probably-
love that fly.
I have a little fly that I tie. It's called the magic midge,
Yeah.
And I think maybe it's that one. There's not a whole lot to it. It's nothing but just a size 14 hook and some black thread tied really, really skinny.
Yeah.
That's in my mind. I'm not really, really skinny, but and a nice big tungsten bead.
Yep.
And it's just there's hardly anything to it, but I think that there's a lot of magic in it because it just always seems to work. So I like to think
awesome.
maybe I have some joy or something in me that I would like to think is that pours out when I talk to folks. So maybe just like the magic in the fly.
Oh,
so that's what
awesome.
I'll compare myself to.
Oh, I like that answer. That's an amazing answer. The magic midge.
Magic Midge.
Oh, that's so cool.
That's it.
I love that. We have to get a picture of that fly from you because that's cool. I'd love to see what that fly looks like sometime.
All right, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, send
Absolutely,
us an email with a photo of that.
That'd be
for
awesome.
Sure.
And a bunch of photos of yourself as well.
Yeah. 100%.
Okay, I'll do it with
Yeah.
my big fish.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Well, that's it for Mitchie's Fishies 5, and that's it for the show, Susan. Like, thanks again so much for coming on. It was amazing talking to you about
An
your
hour
world of fly fishing.
evaporated.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is it been an hour?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Y'all were wonderful. You each had some great questions, and I feel like I've been sitting right there in the living room with all of you guys.
Oh, that's
so.
so nice. Thanks. Oh my
Thank
God.
you.
Well, we'll have to meet up one day and hit the river because that sounds like it'd be a very fun time. Maybe we'll catch the
Catskills.
Yeah, catch you in the Catskills
Yes.
or something like that.
Yeah.
That'd be something.
Oh, for sure. And Aldo, do not come back for barbecue in Nashville without looking me up.
Oh
for hot-
yeah, no, I'll definitely. Yeah, we'll have a hot chicken sandwich, and
There you go.
if I can sidebar about the hot chicken sandwich, it really is that hot.
Life changing.
No, it's just that spicy. I was like, I ordered one. I can't remember the bar I was at, but I ordered one at the bar, and the guy's like, "Oh, you want a mild, medium, or hot, or something?" And I was like, "Oh, I'll have it hot." And the guy next to me, he's
Oh,
like,
man.
"No, you don't."
That's
And so I was
amazing.
like, "Okay, I'll get the medium." And even then, I think I went to a different dimension. But the food in Nashville is awesome. I'm sure the fishing's great. And yeah, Susan, thanks for coming on the show and reaching out.
Yes.
And
Absolutely.
I guess I would ask you one last thing, which is shameless plug time. How can people find you? How can people find your book? How can people join your groups? How can people book you as an instructor? Go.
Yes. Just look up, if you Google Southern Brookies, I doubt you'll find anything else but that. And my website is Southern Brookies. My Instagram is Southern Brookies. My Facebook is Southern Brookies. That's the best thing. And I've got links to everything that I've talked about from, the Music City Fly Girls and the Wolf School, all of that. Or just get on there and contact me and ask whatever questions you need.
Boom, there you go.
That's it.
There
Amazing.
we go.
Great.
Concise.
Well, thank you
Yes.
so much,
Yeah.
Susan. It was a joy.
Thanks for having me. I really enjoyed it, you guys.
Absolutely. Have a great night,
Absolutely.
too.
Our pleasure.
Okay.
Okay,
Good night.
take care.
See ya.
See ya. Well, that was Susan. It
That was a great show.
was awesome, man. She's super cool.
That was awesome.
I
She's
love-
amazing, man.
I love all-
the energy.
Yeah, the energy and the initiative of everything she's done
Yeah.
over the years to just make fly fishing a bigger part of her life because she's so passionate about it. It's great.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's even half as hot as it is here,
Oh my
and she
God.
just finished a guiding day, and then have that much energy to
I
do
know.
that.
Exactly. That's a good point, actually. Jeez.
I mean, like all day rowing in the sun, and then come in and talk to us.
Oh, man. Yeah,
I hope I have that much energy.
I know.
Yeah. Oh, you will. Don't worry, man.
I'm giving
You
her
definitely will.
I'm giving her a follow on Instagram right now. Southern Brookies. There we go. Boom.
Yeah. She's great. Great
Yeah.
energy. She's like, I don't know what else to say. I mean,
Well, you know,
fantastic.
it's cool to hear about, the more we do the show, like all the different fly fishing that exists in different parts of North America, even like the States and stuff. Cause like, I don't know anything about fly fishing Tennessee really, or, like these places that she's gone. It's like, it's cool to hear about. Like she said, Lynchburg, Tennessee, she did a guiding day today near there, which is so cool. Cause we work on Jack Daniels at our day jobs. And I hear about Lynchburg all the time. I never think about like, oh yeah, there's people guiding fly fishing over there. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
when I drove to Nashville,
Yeah.
and then drove across Tennessee to Memphis, it just never crossed my mind that you would find, I don't know, it's just like kind of flat and kind of like Indiana, like
Yeah.
in a way. And I was like, it was the last place I would have thought a trout would be. But it's cool to know that there's so many trout. There's a trout club.
Yeah.
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 I mean,
Music
stock
City
is still-
Fly Girls, man. I love that name. It's
Yeah,
a
how
cool
cool
name.
is
Oh, it's great. Yeah.
And that they travel like a huge group that travels all over. That's awesome, man. That's a good club.
Yeah, I wonder if like we could ever find 36 people to go on a trip with. Imagine.
Oh no, we don't know 36 people, man.
That's what I'm saying.
I only know you guys.
Like
Well-
36 people. How like what a scene that would be. That'd be so cool. Like having like Susan said, having an armada,
Yeah.
a fleet of drift boats show up at the hotel to pick you up. How
That's so
cool is that?
Such a cool scene. Oh, God.
That'd be such a cool scene seeing them all roll in, everybody getting into the trucks and
And the drift boat guides were probably like, "This is so cool." We're like a convoy of,
Convoy,
of drift boats.
Yeah.
That would have been
Yeah.
fun. No, it's
that
great.
would've been fun.
Well, also for everybody at home listening, just we'll put the links to where you can check out Susan's book and her stuff in the show notes. So go to our SoundCloud and click the info there, and you'll see all the links there. Pick up the book, definitely 100%. Give it a read because Susan's full of amazing stories.
Yeah, and to the point of lifelong learning, I mean, I don't think you can have too many beginner fly fishing books because, stuff changes all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
You
And
know?
then also
there are those timeless books for sure, but
Yeah.
and they're awesome to read, but it's cool to have updated info.
Yeah, and I love the way she's done it because it is the story sprinkled in, like and it's in her voice. I mean, it makes it totally. It's not like it's if you think it's like, oh, here's how to fly fish. It's not necessarily that, right? Because she's sprinkled in all these great stories, and definitely worth checking out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Guys, when are you fishing next? What's going on?
Well, next weekend.
Whoa, bass
Whoa,
opener,
whoa.
postponed bass opener for us because usually we
Yeah.
go out June like 23rd, which is bass opener in this area. The third Saturday in June, and then it's the fourth,
fruit
which
fly.
we found fourth is the Southern Ontario. And so instead, because we were in Esnagami, you guys are coming here next weekend, and we're gonna go fishing for bass. And also, we should go fish the islands and stuff too, because we didn't
And
really do
also-
that much last time. And also,
Yeah.
We didn't do the islands. We caught a couple largemouth on the island, but we didn't. We
like way back,
We were
you and
in-
I fished the island, but like, I don't think we did last summer. We just went to the pond last summer, right?
no,
We
no,
went
no.
to- no,
we went
we-
to the island.
Oh, did we?
Yeah, I mean, we went to one island very
One
quickly
island.
before we left.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I think on the day we were leaving.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Correct.
Well, we should spend some time fishing around the island. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Also, what we have to do is we tied up all those flies,
Oh, yeah,
blindfolded,
Yeah.
and we got to see if they'll catch something.
Heck
Oh
yeah, man.
yeah.
Heck
Yeah, I've got the box and everything. And
and
our buddy Aaron Reed down in Texas sent us all those
yes,
bass. Well, they're carp flies, but there's no way they won't work.
100%.
So we gotta
my
take
God.
those
They're
flies
so-
out for a spin.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be great. Yeah, so we're gonna go up to Buckshot. Maybe I might maybe be able to fish before then, but probably not.
Yeah.
And we'll go up to Buckshot, have a great time.
Yeah, man, we're gonna have so much
Jesus
fun.
Christ, Mitch.
I have a fly in my mouth. Sorry, everybody. I have a bass fly because I'm here right now. I'm living in the woods, so I'm like just got flies.
Mitch, have
everywhere.
you fished?
Yeah, I fished the other day. Actually, yes, I did fish the other day. I went out with I went out with my brother and we fished the bass lake that we love to fish, and yeah, caught a bunch of bass and
Out in the float tubes?
out in the float tubes, bobbing around.
Nice.
Beautiful day.
Nice.
Caught a
Nice.
really big red ear sunfish too. It was huge. The colors were amazing on it. It was like one of the biggest sunfish I think I've ever caught. I was like, Jesus.
Oh, that's
It's
great.
fighting like a bass. Yeah, because it's like a very warm water pond there, and it's nice. That's what we'll fish. I think maybe what we'll do next weekend is maybe we'll fish the pond in the morning, go back for lunch around 1 or something like that, and then take our waders off because it's gonna be 1 billion degrees, and then go to the island and just fish an island, and then maybe go fish another island, and you know what I mean, like get out
Probably-
and wade and cast kind of thing.
I don't know if I'm gonna wear my waders if it's gonna be this
I
hot.
know, man.
I
That's
don't
the
think
thing.
just wet wade.
I know last year was a bit cooler. I mean, it was still pretty hot, but
We're gonna
the
get
water was cool.
We're gonna get cooked
The-
in the for sure, but the pond is like very pond, right? Like you're in mud sometimes, so it's kind of gross.
What if we
Oh.
wet wade? I might wet wade with my wading boots and my socks, just like if I'm not.
You could.
Well, you gotta put your flippers on.
Just the problem is,
Flippers.
you got to have your feet in the water the whole
yeah.
time. So it's just like a really muddy. I don't know. I don't want to sound too precious or anything like that, but like
You're worried about leeches. It's
I'm a
fine.
little worried about leeches. All right. So there, I said it.
You're worried about leeches.
And also, you gotta like really kick through like I don't know. a
Oh no,
good-
I know. I remember.
Yeah, like over 100 feet of just like silt to get through into where it opens into the pond.
That's true.
And then it's nice. Then you can wet wade, no problem. But it's the mud that's kind of gross. But hey, You do it. You go first. You tell me if it was okay, and then we'll go from there. Also, you're gonna bring that crazy thing.
The iCross.
That like.
You hear me? The Dorito raft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I might
I'm dubbing it.
I might use it. I might just use it.
Well, yeah. I mean, hey, if it has a seat, it might not be so bad.
Does it
bring the paddle?
Does it have a seat? Oh, we should definitely bring the paddleboard. You got Aldo's bringing up a couple Bow Lake paddleboards, which are sick. They're like,
oh my
beautiful.
god, this is amazing.
Yeah, we're gonna take pictures of you driving your paddleboard around, Yelma.
Yeah, we'll have some paddleboards to play around with.
That's gonna be so fun.
Great.
I can't wait
this
to.
Is great. This is huge. We have like so we have
water is calling. The water is calling.
We have float tubes. We have iCross. We've got
paddleboards,
toys
canoes.
of the yin yang.
I got a John.
We literally have like a fleet. We have a fleet.
We have a fleet.
We do have a fleet.
We have a fleet of inflatables.
Yeah, you've got your Watermaster. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we got to bring the Watermaster.
And then I've got a bunch of pool floaties that we could fish from.
Can you guys hear me?
It'd be pretty cool. Yeah, of course we can hear you. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
What's going on? Why?
No, because I just said that, and then you
said pool floaties. Yeah, we're definitely gonna go ahead and hit the water. It's gonna be fun. Next week's gonna be good. And then we'll fish around some islands too, and just have a good time. Have a little campfire. Drink some.
It'd be great.
Drink some scotch. Drink some wine.
Yeah.
Hang out. Well, that was a great show, guys. Everybody at home, thanks for listening. And take care. We'll put the links to everything for Susan in the show notes. And thanks for listening. That's it for me, Mitch. Aldo.
Yeah, thanks everybody for listening, and thanks, Susan. That was fun. That was a oh my god. Oh my god.
A great show.
Let's try the.
You pulled the Yoma.
Oh no.
My brain broke.
That's okay.
It's okay.
Thanks everybody for listening. Thanks, Susan. It was an awesome show.
Yelma?
Thanks everyone.
Oh my god, you guys are like, Ty, what's going on here? I guess it's 8:40.
This heat is frying our brains.
Well, everybody at home, thanks for listening. Susan, again, thank you so much for coming on. Check out our book, and hopefully everybody can get on the water, and take care.
You can find all of SoFly's content at SoFly.ca. On Instagram, we're at the SoFly Crew. You can reach us at thesoflycrew@gmail.com with any questions, comments, or concerns. On Facebook, we're SoFly, and our podcast is available on SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify.